lost all control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bedtime Stories From Beyond, the Paranormal Portal short videos, short shows, shorter version shows, whatever the hell I'm trying to say. Welcome to here. Welcome here, whatever this is called, because apparently I'm more tongue-tied than I anticipated, but I hope you guys are doing great. It's the last part of your weekend, but I hope you had a great weekend all the same. It's been a cold, pissy, rainy place around here for days now, but that's all right, I guess. You know, if it's not gonna be warm, I would rather not be teased by the sun like there was something cool going on out there. But I hope you guys are doing wonderful. Thanks so much for coming in and being a part of the Paranormal Portal. It's always a pleasure to see you guys and to be a part of your days as you guys continually come in and take part in these daily shows that we're doing on YouTube here. So 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Pacific time. There is a live portal going on, and I'll be here doing it. So, but it's been a really, really busy day. How's everybody doing? Hi, Deb. Good to see you, and hello to everybody else. I'll look at the roster after some people have filtered in. They usually come in throughout the first 20 minutes of the show. It seems like the largest bulk of listeners are like, anywhere in the first 10, 20 minutes is when they're piling in, and that's fine. I'm not actually taking attendance, so there's no demerits if you're not here, or if you're just sitting quietly and watching, or if you just watch at a different time, that's fine too. But I got a good show lined up for you. Hope it's going to be entertaining, and I guess that's about all I got to say on the front end of this, but I hope you're ready, because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're now we're at it. We're engaged now. That's it. Starting intro video played, and we're underway. So let's see who is here. I guess we got 20 some people, so it's not all bad. But right now I've got Alejandra Lopez. Good to see you. Beastly Broncos here. Big Rob 3080 or 30,000 or 300,080. I don't know, lots of zeros, but there's Big Rob here. Brent the Hater, it must be my my evil twin or something. I don't know, because I'm not a hater, but Brent the Hater is here. Brown Dwarf is in here. Cameron F is in here. Cha Cha is in here. How you doing, everybody? Lee McNew's in here. Good to see you, Lee. And ladies and gentlemen, if you get a chance, go check out Lee's channel. Lee's got some great stuff up over there. He's does some field work, looking into some Bigfoot stuff, and he's going to start getting into the paranormal stuff over there too. I was talking to him just last night. Yeah. It's like all the days kind of blend together, but yeah, it's just last night. So, but check out his work. His channel is growing, and he does a really nice job. So definitely take a look at that. DJ Obsession is in here. DJ Big Red is in here. Lots of DJs. Donnie C is in here. Fiddleback guy. Good to see you, Fiddleback guy. Gemini Moon is in here. Jeans what's it? Jean's Pretty Pups. Welcome, Cade Moya. How you doing, Cade, brother? Good to see you. Christina Potter is in here. Lisa Heilman, Mary Brim. I'm in here. Rachel gets it right. I'm glad you got it right, Rachel. Good job. Renee Harvey's in here. Renee Cruz, Real Dill. Vamp Lugosi. Oh, Vamp, it's good to see you. I missed you. I'm glad you came back. And William Bennett, of course, is here. And Diana Daniels Orcutt is in here. She's one of our mods, and I'm sure the Duke will be in here shortly. And definitely check out Duke's World Bigfoot Radio page. If you want to know about the Squatch, that's where you're going to learn a ton. He does just a brilliant job. Lots of visuals as well as the narrative, which is really nice. He puts up a lot of evidence pictures from his guests, and you get to see a lot of really wild stuff on there. So definitely check out Duke's channel. He's doing it. He puts a lot of love into what he's up to, and it definitely shows. So let's see. Am I missing anything else? I don't know if anyone else came in. I'm sorry if I missed you. But, someone just came in. Linda just came in. I just saw that happen in front of my eyes. So, Matrix 7 came in. Hi, how are you doing? Good to see you as well. So, I don't know. I think that's pretty much everybody. But if I've missed you, just yell at me in the chat and I'll try to see it. But, let's see what the hell's going on. Oh, I got stories lined up for you. That's what I'm here for. Who am I? What's my motivation? Yeah. I remember now. It's just been one of those days. I've just been scattered and fragmented, working on music, working on some CGI stuff that I'm trying to develop, helping a buddy with his projects, and then just keeping up with everything, just the regular stuff on top of that. And I slept like garbage last night. I slept horribly. I was up all night long, and I went to bed and slept like an hour and a half, and then woke up thinking it was morning, and I was really disappointed when it wasn't morning. It was like 1:30. I was like, oh no, this is going to be a long night, and it was a long night, but I'm here anyway because I love you guys, and that's just what you do. That's the price of love, is giving until it hurts. And I'm not hurting. I'm good. But if you want to call in and be a part of the show, you can always do that. The phone lines are open, and hopefully I'll see them if you do call in. I've kind of repositioned my chair here so that I should be able to see them. But the phone number for the portal is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. And if you're thinking about calling in after I've already said that, and you're like, oh, what's that number? Just look right up here, right where I'm pointing up there. Underneath the Paranormal Portal, you'll see the call-in number there. And there's other great information over here, too, if you, as long as we're reading stuff. So anyway, you definitely love it when you guys call in. We had some great call-ins last night. Very busy night with call-ins, which was wonderful. And I got to meet some new people that have been listening to the show. And that's one of my favorite parts, is getting a chance to talk to all you guys that are listeners. So if you have a story of your own, we're moving towards the Halloween season, and everybody's had something spooky happen. I mean, it's just the law of averages. So definitely call in and tell us about it if you've got something to share. Again, I want to reiterate that on Halloween night, we're going to do a Paranormal Portal-thon. And I don't know how long it's going to be, but we're going to be at it for a long time. So if you're not busy looking for something to do, I think we'll probably start at the normal 7 time and then just go until I got nothing left to give, which may not be real long. It might be a 2-hour show, and that might be it. But we'll see how it goes. But that's the plan anyway, so I hope you guys will join us for that. We are putting together some hopefully some good things and some guests to join us throughout that journey. It's a little harder, though, because it's kind of like it's a Thursday night, so I don't know. Friday's next. I think people can give up on sleep for one night, can't they? I'm just saying, take one for the team. But we'll be here doing the portal until we can't portal no more. Excuse me. Hold on. So that'll be Thursday night, Halloween night, and that'll be coming up. So let's see what else is going on here. Okay. So we're good. I'm good. Are you guys good? You ready? Okay. Let's get started then. Let's see what we can get into here. And I got some stories pulled up. I must have read this one already. Let me see if I did. Yeah, I did. I read this one. Okay, I just had to go and look at what was up there because sometimes I leave links open and I have to reread them to make sure that I'm not going to regurgitate a story right after I read it the show before. So let's go to this one. This first story is coming from Texas. It's a pretty short one. And the person says, this isn't really a scary story, but a humorous happening from last night. I was fairly restless. Work has been requiring a lot of my time, and going straight to sleep has been difficult lately. So when I got home, I curled up on the sofa with dinner to relax, and I caught sight of a white shadow strolling down the hallway toward my bedroom, which is no big deal. I usually see shadows of some sort periodically. Well, I was watching television for a while and decided I would tuck in bed and with a book and hopefully find sleep at some point before the wee hours snuck up on me. And I had my apartment to myself and felt fairly relaxed, just not really sleepy. Well, I read for about half an hour and thought maybe I could sleep and turned off the lamp and rolled onto my right side, and the apartment was dark, cool, and was really perfect for finally going to sleep, and my legs were doing their twitchy thing, so I felt pretty restless, expecting to get up again. But about the time I was about to toss back the covers, turning on the lamp and get up for a while, I heard this breathing. It sounded like someone took a breath and did the frustrated exhale, floating above me toward the ceiling. You know, the big forced out of your nose exhale, just a big whoosh, like like that, I think, is what they're describing. Well, I laughed out loud thinking, now here's this shadow entity, and I'm making it tired. Maybe turnabout is fair play. That is interesting. Of course, the idea is that shadow people, if it's truly a shadow person, they may subsist on us somehow. There are a lot of people that believe that they feed on us. Maybe it's our energy of some kind or something else. But maybe he was getting pissed because this guy was just taking forever to get to sleep, or this lady. It looks like it's written by a lady. So I guess you can kind of frustrate the entities too. I didn't know that, but now we know. So the next one, what the hell is this? This one's from New York, but I don't know. Oh, no. I remember this one. No, it's one I read, but there were some links at the bottom, and I thought maybe it'd be fun to read some of those. You know what? I'm just going to close it, though, because I don't know if we might have already read some of those that were linked on that bottom. So let's just pull up some new ones. I just listened to the latest episode of Sasquatch Chronicles, and I'm here. It's a retired police officer is interviewed on there, and he talks about this experience with dealing with somebody that was perhaps possessed by a demon. And if you really want to understand what a true demonic possession is, go listen to that episode, because the word demon, I've been saying it for a long time, but the word demon just gets thrown around like it's a cool thing to say that you dealt with. Oh, I dealt with a demon. Especially for some paranormal investigators, they like to throw the demon word around because that sounds really impressive to say you went head to head with a demon. And I guess it's kind of a street cred for paranormal people, but in truth, you really don't want to go head to head with a demon at all. They are truly very, very potent beings. I got something in my eye. I'm sorry, just a sec. And the tale that's recounted, and I'm not going to try to paraphrase it because I would never do it justice, but the tale this guy tells on that episode is absolutely like wow, and that's what I consider when I'm considering a demonic possession. That's what I consider. So that's why I don't believe that a lot of people that throw around the word demon are actually talking about true demons. But if this story is legitimate, and I believe it is, then this is one hell of a story, and you should definitely check it out. It's really creepy, though. Really creepy. So that's all I'm going to say about that. You'll have to go check it out. There's the Duke. Good to see you, brother. Glad you made it in. Duke's been busy working on a lot of his World Bigfoot radio stuff. Great show last night, by the way, Duke. In case you guys didn't know, the Duke has a show on TFRlive.com as well, which is also simulcast iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And his showtime is at, it's at 10 p.m. Pacific time until 11 p.m. Pacific time. And his first show was brilliant. The last night's show was really good. So definitely check those out. And if you go over to tfrlive.com, you can go tfrlive.com/chat. And Duke does pre-recorded shows, but he's always in there to talk to as well. And it's just a great thing. So get a chance to listen to the World Bigfoot Radio and talk to the Duke at the same time. It's a great deal. So definitely check those out on Saturday nights, as well as his YouTube channel, which is World Bigfoot Radio, of course. All right, so let's get to some more stories here. Here's... I think this is what maybe cued me to think of that Sasquatch Chronicles episode, but this one is coming from Georgia, and it has to do with apparently a possession, but we'll see. So it all started as me and a group of friends from my Catholic church were sitting down at a table at the local bowling alley, and one of them, 17-year-old Cara Lewis, had been... It's nice to use the person's name. Couldn't even hide that, I guess. Cara Lewis had been out late the weekend before and had experienced some spooky goings-on at the cemetery where her father is buried. My friend, 15-year-old Michelle Putman, and I related similar experiences in that area as well. The island our church is located on is considered the second most haunted place on the East Coast. The north end of St. Simon's is especially known for purported supernatural activity. Our group of friends decided that we would go ghost hunting one night, and we had come up with a list of haunted locales and would spend one night investigating the ghost stories. The group that was set to go was Cara, Michael, and my 17-year-old brother, David, 15-year-old Kat Belsky, and I. So I thought they were talking about a 15-year-old cat, but I guess the person's name is Kat. And this person has no problem naming everybody, which is probably kind of rude, actually, but oh well. At a number of subsequent youth group meetings, we formulated our plan to attack for that night. We scheduled the hunt for a number of nights, but it was postponed for a variety of reasons, and we finally got one night where everything fell into place and we were all set to rock. Michael and I had planned this operation down with military precision. We bought food and drinks, and I even acquired a bottle of rum from a friend who had connections to a liquor store that did not check ID. And we had transportation figured out and a contingency plans in case we were pulled over by the cops. We all swore not to drink until after the ghosting was over, because I'd be driving and wanted to be stone cold sober so that anything we saw would have validity. Our final contingency plan was a supernatural one. Our youth minister, a deacon, had overheard our plans one night and warned us about messing with the supernatural. With his help, we armed ourselves accordingly. At final countdown on the night of the hunt, our armament consisted of 4 crucifixes of varying sizes, half a dozen rosaries, 2 Bibles, half a gallon of holy water, and an 8-inch tall statue of the Virgin of Guadalupe that Michael borrowed from his house. As one further note of prudence, I researched some old exorcism prayers. I had searched for the text of the Roman ritual, the Vatican-endorsed exorcism text, for almost a month, but couldn't find it. But in the end, I resorted to little pieces of old Latin exorcism rites, such as the rite of Saint Benedict and what I could remember from reading about the rite of exorcism. Now, as it turns out, my precautions were a very good idea. Enter Michael. Michael Evan Burley even uses his middle name. 19 years of age, practicing pagan, and I'd known him while he was a member of my ROTC unit, or JROTC, so a junior version. And he had gone off to join the Marines, but was back in Brunswick after being discharged for mental disturbances. At the time, Michael, who will hereafter be referred to as Burley, was secretly dating Kat, a relationship her parents disapproved of for obvious reasons. And Michael and I had been sort of enablers for this relationship, even hiding Burley in the trunk of my car one time when we were picking up Kat. And at the last minute, Cara had to go to work, so she dropped out of the endeavor, Kat asked if Burley could come, and at this point, I wasn't aware of his spiritual background, and I also thought it would be fun to have him along, so I agreed for him to come. It was a very fateful decision. I still wonder who that night would have turned out if he had not been present. The night started off light-hearted enough. The Catholics all went to Vigil Mass first, and then to Michael's house, and then field base for that night. My cover for that night was that I was staying at Michael's house. My dad is also deathly afraid of anything even somewhat related to the supernatural occult and would never have let me do this. After we collected all our gear, we picked up some pizza while dodging a kid who thought he was supposed to be coming on the trip. We then drove back to my neighborhood and snuck through the darkness to the house I was house sitting for that week, where I had stowed the rum, and this too was almost a military operation. We ditched the car because we didn't want my parents to see it in the neighborhood, and we also dodged any cars driving by for fear that they might have been my parents, even diving into bushes and dropping into ditches a number of times. After acquiring the rum, we hightailed it back to my car and carefully avoiding my house where my parents were, and drove back to the island. At approximately 2200, we picked up Burley up at his work, and from there we drove to the first, and as it would turn out, the last stop. We thought we were going to Dunbar Creek, the site of the famous slave mass suicide via drowning, and Michael, however, had read the map wrong, and instead we were at a place which had once been settled by slaves and also, interestingly enough, had a Masonic lodge close by. We parked the car and got our things and said some quick prayers and jumped the fence to go towards the creek and to the dock. And I had been there before, and the place is freaky during the day. I never feel supernatural or spiritual disturbances, and even I felt there was something wrong with this place. Allow me to briefly digress. My ancestry, at least what I claim, is mixed Gallo-German on my dad's side and Mexican with a splash of Apache on my mom's side. The German gave us the Black Forest and some of the creepiest fairy tales known to men, and the Irish have always been a superstitious people, thanks to those druids, and the Mexicans, too, seem to have some sort of supernatural connections, and my Apache grandfather claims to have had visions of Victorio, the Apache war chief, who he maintains was our ancestor. As you can see, my parents have connections to the spirit world, and it seems that they can sense spirits and things not of this world, usually of a malevolent nature. They call it discernment, a gift of the Holy Spirit. My gift of the Holy Spirit is knowledge, and I was not blessed with this gift. It didn't pass to my generation. For this reason, my parents have always warned me to be careful. Michael also has a family of spirit connections, and they're Irish, and he has them as well. Returning to the story, as we were exploring the area, Burley kept getting drawn to the dock, saying that he wanted to go swimming. And as we moved around with Michael and me at point, Michael was becoming increasingly agitated, saying that we should leave. For the first time in my life, I began to detect a presence, although very faint, around us. Michael was getting visibly disturbed, mumbling prayers in English and Latin, his face turning into a pale mask of fear. I can't use my own words to describe my feelings at this point, so I will use Tolkien's as there was a fell presence on the air. I was just about ready to leave, but we had to find the others first. And suddenly I heard Burley scream, "Let's get the hell out of here," as he came hurtling out of the bushes, David and Kat close at his heels. Michael and I bolted, and I felt the presence bearing down on us now, like a hawk swooping down. Michael and I turned around and tried to hold it off with crucifixes, but then Kat got stuck on the fence, and we ran to help her, got her over, and then jumped over ourselves, and as I turned, I saw Burley in midair over the fence, but felt as if the presence was upon us. Burley lost consciousness suddenly, going completely limp with his eyes open. David and Michael picked up his limp body while I sprinted to the car and started the engine. Kat jumped in the back with David and Burley while Michael took the co-pilot seat next to me. The first minutes were purely survival mode, getting out of there and checking Burley's pulse and breathing, which Kat did, Although his eyes were open, Kat reported that she could not feel either Burley's pulse or breathing. Knowing that he had mental issues in the past, my first thought was to get him to a hospital, but it was beginning to seem like a spiritual problem. When the time came for the turn that would take us to either the hospital or the church, Michael screamed church. By this time, Burley was virtually catatonic. In the front seats, Michael pulled out the sheets I had printed out and was beginning reciting a litany of the saints and the prayer to St. Michael. According to Kat, whenever either of us uttered the name St. Michael, Burley's eyes would roll back into the back of his head. My car was practically on two wheels as I spun into the turn into the church parking lot. My intent was to get Burley into the chapel and the presence of the Holy Blessed Sacrament. Unfortunately, the chapel was locked, and I ran back to the car, but as soon as I opened the door, Burley went limp again. We dragged his limp body across the pavement, but suddenly he started coughing as if he'd been underwater for a long time, and finally surfaced. We were all relieved. When he had composed himself, I asked him, "Michael Burley, will you accept a prayer of exorcism?" I didn't think he was possessed, but I wanted to make sure, and he agreed. Michael and I laid hands on him and prayed rather fragmented Latin exorcism prayers and read from the Gospels. Burley mentioned hearing a woman's voice and feeling as if his wrists were being cut before blanking out. We all felt the worst was over, and we were very much relieved. Burley stood up, and I asked him if he would let us bless him, to which he agreed. I reached into the car and pulled out my cup of soda, while Michael retrieved a half-gallon bottle of holy water. With my right hand, I reached over and traced the cross on Burley's forehead with the holy water, and then all hell broke loose, literally. Burley reached up to his head, screamed, doubling over in pain, and I swear I heard sizzling noises. It was just like in the movies. Burley took off running, and we all sort of stood in shock and just sat there staring at him until we realized that he was running at a speed no one could naturally run. I yelled, "He's running for the road." And this seemed to break us all out of our stupor, and we split, tearing down the sidewalk after him. And Michael reported after the fact that as he was running, he heard Burley yell, "Drink the poison yourself." This is interesting to note because the line from the Latin Rite I used was ipse venena bibas, which means drink the cup of poison yourself. As verified by my Latin teacher, the phrase is Latin second level, and Burley only took Latin 1, and failed it. Later research showed that a common symptom of demonic possession is the ability to understand unknown languages. We ran 2 blocks down from the church looking for Burley and couldn't find him at all. He was absolutely nowhere to be found, and we tried to figure out where he was going when it dawned on us that he might be running back to the house where we had lived until a few weeks ago. Kat and I spent one morning a few weeks prior driving to this house to ensure that Burley did not commit suicide after he wrote a text message as a suicide note. Now we were afraid that he might try it again. David took the keys to my car and started to drive back to the church in order to try to find Burley. He told us later that he had found a scapular hanging from my rearview mirror. It was the same scapular I had given Burley to wear for protection. The only problem was that I had locked the car when we abandoned it to go looking for him. We were searching for Burley for about a half an hour, during which time he, or whatever was possessing him, communicated with us via text message. One message was, "Bye-bye, David," which caused us to panic because we were afraid a vengeful spirit was set to harm my brother. As it turns out, Burley had sent that message while he was watching David drive away. Another message told Kat to stop singing. She had been singing the song very softly in order to calm herself, and one would have had to have been very close to hear it. Burley was nowhere around. This fruitless search went on for about an hour, and I caught up to Michael, who was heading back to the church when he walked into the parking lot. He raised his crucifix high in the air and began calling in a loud voice for Burley to come out of the woods. I stopped dead in my tracks as I saw movement at the far side of the parking lot. Michael kept walking, still ordering Burley to come out of the woods in the name of Jesus. Finally, a figure stepped out of the woods and walked up to the church property line, but it wasn't Burley. It looked like Burley, but it didn't walk like him and did not talk like him. Even from a distance, I could tell that something was wrong with the way he swaggered and flicked his cigarette. Michael commanded the spirit in the name of Christ to advance, but it could not walk on hallowed ground. I ran up behind Michael, and we were both holding crucifixes. Michael ordered the spirit to kneel, and it looked at us if it was about to refuse, but it complied, getting down on Burley's knees and putting Burley's hands on the ground in front of it. As long as Michael and I held up our crosses, the spirit would not allow Burley to raise his head to look at us, unless we ordered him to do so. Per standard procedure, we asked the spirit to identify itself. It stated that its name was Elizabeth Hall. That name meant nothing to us, and we asked what purpose it had in possessing Burley. The spirit tried not to answer, and I got angry and yelled at the spirit, a mistake during an exorcism. I told it that it had no power against the name of Christ, and that its power came from the Lord of Lies, and that we would rebuke it and send it back to hell. Apparently, you're not supposed to taunt spirits. Michael shushed me, but the spirit had said that he promised me eternal life. When I asked it who, it responded with, "The one you call the Lord of Lies." That was unsettling. We had enough with the questioning, and we were about to begin our own bastardized version of the exorcism rite when Kat came running into the parking lot. David was behind her trying to get her to stop because with the kind of things that tend to happen during an exorcism, it would be best for her not to watch. Especially because precisely at that moment, the spirit made Burley's body go limp again. While Michael prayed over Burley, I took Kat and hugged her and told her that everything would be okay. David had leaned against the light post and appeared to be praying the rosary. Meanwhile, Michael called me over to help as Burley's body began to convulse. I ran to him to make sure that he was all right and placed my hands over his head. I began repeating the Latin, Vade retro satana, Vade retro drago. Cruz sacra mihi lux, as Michael prayed the prayer to St. Michael behind me. We also prayed the litany of the saints. Suddenly, Burley's back arched, and he suddenly flopped back down still. He opened his eyes, and Burley looked back at me. Without saying anything, he said, "I believe." I could think of only one thing to do. I knew that the rite of baptism carried an inherent exorcism by rebuking evil spirits, and I also knew that even a lay Christian could baptize someone. So I baptized Burley that night in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and I thought it was the only way to save his soul. After literally emptying the jug of holy water on his head, I helped Burley to his feet and embraced him. He also went to hug Michael, who told him to go get his girl. She was weeping just beyond us in the parking lot and ran to Michael when she saw that he had returned to normal. We let them have some alone time in the car as David and Michael and I talked about the night's events. This is a really long story. I looked at my watch to say that it was shortly after midnight on Sunday. Needless to say, our night was over, and I broke open the bottle, but Michael didn't feel like drinking. He returned Kat and Burley to their respective homes, and then returned to Michael's house. Fortunately, his mom was not up because none of us felt like relating the night's events to anyone else. We went into his room, and I spent the next 2 hours drinking rum to try to dull the chill of what had happened, and researching demonic possession and Dunbar Creek, and the name of Elizabeth Hall. All we came up with was the fact that a famous medieval exorcist was named Sebastian Michaels, which was interesting because Michael had taken Sebastian as his confirmation name. Around 3 a.m, we decided to pray a rosary for Burley, and I was heavily intoxicated, it was thus my only drunken rosary, but I prayed it with enough clarity, and we finished with St. Michael's exorcism prayer, different from the prayer to St. Michael, and I passed out on Michael's bed. The greatest miracle besides Burley's deliverance that night was the fact that I did not wake up with a killer hangover. Although we all entertained some doubts, we all firmly believed that we encountered an evil spirit that night. Research before and after the fact continues to point to the same conclusion. Burley could have been a very cruel, very elaborate prank on all of us, but he would not have known enough to make it so credible. And the Latin he understood precludes this possibility. The area had voodoo influences as well. So this is really, so if this really was a demon, how was it banished? Neither Michael and I are ordained priests, although Michael plans on becoming one. The closest to priestly training I have received is my altar servers training, which does not include banishing out demons, although many Christian faiths hold that any baptized Christian has the authority to rebuke demons. Only a Catholic priest can perform the actual exorcism, rite, and then only the express permission of the local bishop. Most dioceses actually have a position called an exorcist, and it is his job to investigate all claims of demonic activity. Unfortunately, most dioceses do not keep this position active, including the Diocese of Savannah, which is where this incident took place. Savannah is widely considered one of the most haunted cities in the country, and they don't have an official exorcist. It makes no sense to me. Regardless, Pope Benedict XVI has recently taken steps to address the issue of vacant exorcist positions. Granted, the exorcism prayers that we used were not the completely approved Roman ritual. Rather, they were borrowed from a bunch of different exorcism rites, but that makes it all the more astounding that the prayers actually worked. Also, the exorcist is supposed to be in a state of grace. And there was hardly a time in high school where I was in a perfect state of grace, but Michael had gone to confession earlier before Mass. Perhaps it was our faith that the prayers that work and that God would free Burley even if we didn't know the exact words that freed him. I tend to believe that day had something to do with it. As we were exorcising Burley, the Feast of Divine Mercy began. Our Lord had told St. Faustina that he would grant anything to the soul who asked for something in faith on that day, and that the ocean of God's grace poured into the world, especially on that day. Her motto was, "Jesus, I trust in you." David had begun praying the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. I believe that it was our faith and trust in Jesus, Kat's love for Burley, and the limitless mercy of God that freed Burley on that night. And we learned not to mess around with the supernatural. Well, that was a huge story. I had no idea I was going to be in for such a narration, but I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think that was a demonic possession, but there are several different forms of possession. Demonic only being one. There's other types that have to do with other kind of entities. Even such things as walk-ins. They're considered walk-ins, where they walk in, and those may be not traditionally a possession. As I understand it, the walk-ins are more of a kind of a soul contract or something, like, you're done with this part now, I come in and do the rest, or something to that effect. Who knows? But anyway, very interesting. I don't know. It was incredibly long, but I hope it was entertaining all the same. How long did that take? I got to look at the clock. Man, that felt like I was reading forever. Yeah, it was 40 minutes. Well, maybe 35, because I was gum running for a while at first. But the phone lines are open if you got something you guys have wanted to say. Now, here's one that's going to be kind of fun to read. It has to do with La Llorona, or La Llorona. I don't know how to pronounce this for sure, but this is a movie just came out recently of La Llorona, or it's two L's, so is that a Y? I don't know. I'm not very good at this stuff. I have enough trouble with English. Don't throw other languages at me. All right. But I've drunk some water. Excuse me. But this story comes from Texas, so let's see. It's another decently long, not horribly long. It says, my mom is a first-generation American, and her parents moved from Chihuahua, Mexico, to El Paso, Texas, before she was born. The supernatural was very prevalent in both sides of her family. My grandfather claims that we are descended from the Apache warlord Victorio, What the hell? I don't know how that happened. Is this the same one? What the hell's going on? I'm really confused. Is this not the same thing I was just reading? I'm going to skip this one. I don't really know what's going on there. I'm going to the next one. This is Colorado. I got confused there, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. It happens once in a while. So, Colorado, let's try that. See what we find out. My story isn't something I can truly explain myself because I was only 2 or 4 years old at the time that we lived in that house. I can share the experiences told by my family, though. We didn't own the house. We were only renting it until we could buy our own house. And we lived there for about 2 or 3 years. And it was a pretty nice house from the outside. But I guess the inside wasn't a great place to live. My mom told me that night that this would happen a few times a week. She would hear screams coming from all over the house. Sometimes a little girl screaming, "Mommy." Oh, that's horrible. She always thought it was me, but when she checked on me, I was asleep. Another experience she had multiple times was whenever she would give me a bath, I never wanted to get out, but she would turn the faucet off and the knobs to it would move back and turn on by themselves. She'd turn them off again and they'd turn back on. And it kept happening until she took me and left the bathroom and the faucets finally would stay off. Those are only her experiences other than something the whole family experienced, which is a certain room in the house. It had balloon wallpaper, and I could vividly remember it, actually. No matter how hot it was in the rest of the house, no matter what we did, that room was always ice cold. I could also remember being terrified of being alone in the basement. It was creepy enough looking as it was. We had dark green carpet and wooden walls, and I could never be down there all by myself. Everything in the house had eerie feelings in that house. And all our family pictures of us in that house, I believe that I see orbs. The only explanation to me is it being haunted, particularly by a little girl who died in that house from being very sick and poorly taken care of. The woman who rented the house told us about her. I don't live there anymore, but part of me would like to, only out of the curiosity, and I'm a lot older now, and I'd like to see what would happen. But I guess I should remember there's a reason we don't live there anymore. Yeah, that's so tragic if a little girl's spirit is still there. That stuff, that breaks my heart. There's some things that should just be absolutely wrong, and a little innocent child spirit being stranded is definitely one of them. I don't know. I don't understand that part. All right, let's go to the next one. And this one is from Virginia. Haven't seen Virginia for a while in here. I wonder how she's doing. But let's see what's going on in Virginia. A few years ago, my friend Courtney's grandfather died. She and her mom told me this story. After the funeral, they went to their aunt's house with the rest of the relatives to eat. Courtney's little sister, Jessie, who was 4 at the time, kept talking and talking, but no one was next to her. Her mom finally asked her who she was talking to, and Jessie said, "The man with the funny chair." The mom said, "Okay," a little confused, and walked away. Later that day, her family was looking at pictures of their grandfather, and Jessie pointed to a picture of him in a wheelchair and said, "That's him. That's the guy in the funny chair." And they also have stories about Jessie seeing dead people. They said that when she was a baby, she would start crying and freaking out, but nobody ever knew why. When she got older, she still cried for no reason, and when they asked her why, she said, "They just keep following me. They won't leave me alone." They said Jessie did this for years until she turned 5 or 6 years old. Now this one is freaky. Jessie would sing a lot when she was little. Her parents one day asked her where she learned the song, and she said, "My friend taught it to me." "Which friend?" "The one that lives upstairs." Thinking it was just an imaginary friend, they said okay and walked away. One night they heard singing on the top floor, and they walked to Jessie's room to tell her to stop singing and go back to sleep. But when they walked in, She was asleep. When we asked Jessie, who is now 6 or 7, if she remembers any of this happening, she does not. Isn't that kind of bizarre? It's like they're wide open for a period, and then a lot of these children that are having these events just hit us. It's like they hit a switch and it just gets turned off or something. Even the memories oftentimes, but again, early childhood memories are most often not real common for people to remember, but that seems to be a shame that they don't remember that part. I just think that that's really cool. I personally do. I think if you were just able to have a dialogue with a spirit, like talking to a friend, and you could just share thoughts and hear what their experiences are in just clear words, to me that would just be amazing. I would be talking for days and days and days. There's so many things I'd want to know and understand, but I guess we'll all understand someday. But I just think that's such a gift, such an incredible gift. Unless you hear a lot of evil stuff, then that would suck. But but if it's a dialogue with somebody being respectful, and I think it'd be cool. Next one is California, and every day it gets colder here. I'm dreaming more and more about California. Oh man, I got to move somewhere warm. So, because of the nature of my experience and certain occurrences in the past, let me first start with a little backstory on myself, since I'm not sure if what happened to me was a true haunting associated with a building or if it was just me. Ever since I was a child, I had some weird experiences. At a very young age, my mom says several times she caught me apparently talking to someone in a room, and when I was the only one there. And she asked me who I was speaking with. I always answered Dee Dee, which was the nickname of my great-grandfather who passed away while my mom was pregnant with me. I also suffered from some pretty intense nightmares as a child. Every once in a while I would get up in the morning feeling perfectly normal, but then my parents would tell me that I woke in the middle of the night screaming hysterically from some sort of nightmare. In my teenage years, I would occasionally have very intense nightmares that as soon as I would awake, I would forget what I was dreaming of instantly, but then would be very emotionally distraught and confused for many hours after. Now, fast forward to about 6 or 7 years ago, I moved into a small one-bedroom apartment in Sacramento, in a complex on the corner of Watt Avenue and Whitney. I can't remember the apartment number I was in, but could probably dig it up in my records filed away. Almost instantly, I got creepy, crawly feeling from the small bedroom. It only took a few nights of sleeping in that bedroom to realize that I was experiencing a lot of nightmares, which jolted me awake several times each night, and also started getting a lot of sleep paralysis. Each time I would wake to find that I could not move my body whatsoever, and several times I felt like a presence in the room was with me when this would occur. I did some reading up on sleep paralysis and just thought it might be my mind not turning on my motor skills quickly enough when I was waking up. However, the nightmares continued to the point that one night I was so upset with not being able to escape the nightmare each time I fell back asleep that I moved to the hide-a-bed on the couch in the living room, and I slept the remainder of the night without incident. I continued to sleep on the hide-a-bed nightmare-free until I began getting a sore back from the bar in the middle of the hide-a-bed. Yeah, they're not really comfortable for more than one night. So I went back to the bedroom, and I wasn't even asleep for an hour or two when everything started happening again. For months, I played this game of sleeping on the couch with my back hurt to the point that I would say, screw it, and then go back to the bedroom. And then the nightmares and the sleep paralysis would drive me back to the couch. Then, towards the end of my 6-month stay in this apartment, I experienced 2 extremely frightening and weird things in that bedroom. The first, I was dreaming about sitting with my parents at their home. It was sunny outside, but suddenly things went dark. And then it was as if something came crashing into the house, and the roof crashed down on me. At this point in the dream, I awoke screaming and then quickly noticed that I felt like I'd been punched in the nose pretty hard. In fact, I was bleeding slightly from my nose, and I moved back to the couch that night for sure. The second incident, I woke in the bedroom lying on my side, and as I went to move and roll onto my back, it instantly felt as if someone was lying behind me in bed with their arms wrapped around my torso, pinning my arms to my side and squeezing tightly. This force pushed me back into my side and would not let me move. I lay there not totally sure if I was awake or asleep and dreaming, but eventually I was able to move again after an unknown amount of time. Obviously, when my lease was up, I moved out. Since I moved out, I still continue to get the occasional nightmares now and then, but nothing as intense as I experienced there, and also have not had any episodes of sleep paralysis since. Since then, I do still see weird things here and there, but nothing like that apartment. And I think at a point it became more frustrating than frightening, and I was getting really mad that I was paying for my apartment and not being able to sleep comfortably in the bedroom. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Sleep paralysis does suck. I've been through a spell of that. Now, I find it very interesting that it was only location specific, and I wonder why. That's got to be energetic then at that point, right? Or wouldn't it seem to be most likely? Because if they didn't experience it past their moving out, but experienced it aggressively in that one bedroom, I don't know. That doesn't stand to reason. At least it raises some serious questions. I know there's lots of people that want to say, well, sleep paralysis is a known medical phenomenon, and it's just, it's the body just not really connecting with the mind correctly. And there are medical reasons for sleep paralysis. I get that. But I think that doesn't define all of the incidences of people experiencing a phenomenon like sleep paralysis. In that maybe there is a physical causation for it in some people, but maybe it's a spiritual trigger in other people. Maybe there's a spiritual trigger that is triggered by a spirit that can cause that phenomena to happen. Some people may experience it naturally, but is it possible that there are entities that know how to trigger that supernaturally? And I don't know. I mean, it stands to reason, I guess. But again, the breadcrumbs of the paranormal. How are we doing now? 53 minutes. It's already time, guys. I tell you what, these shows are just flying by quicker and quicker. But I hope to get some calls from you guys. I want to hear about your spooky experiences. I mean, it's the Halloween season. Come on, guys. It's time to step up and start sharing some stories. So I'll be back tomorrow night for more of the Paranormal Portal, and I hope you guys will come and bring some of your own spookiness my way, because I love a good conversation. I don't mind reading stories to you guys. I love that too, but nothing is as good as when we can sit down and have a chat. So don't be intimidated. It's just me and a microphone, for God's sakes. I just got a YouTube channel. That's it. I'm not some kind of celebrity or anything like that. So call in and be a part of the shows. It's a lot of fun when you guys do. That's my personal favorite of all the things that happen on the show. A close second is, of course, the emails. I love those as just about as much. But I love the calls because we can have a dialogue. We can talk. I can ask you questions. You can, tell me. Maybe we can figure out a little more about what you experienced. So just think about it. That's all I'm saying. Think about it. So anyway, guys, I guess that's going to wrap it up for tonight. That's our show. I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday tomorrow. Remember, think positively about it. Think positively about this whole Monday thing. It sucks for a lot of people, but program it to be a wonderful day. Just, send out that intention. Energy follows intention, right? So you look at tomorrow and you go, God, tomorrow's just going to be awesome. It's going to be a great day. Just send out that energy, and maybe it will be. Maybe it will. So I guess that's about all I got. How you guys doing? Oh, thank you, Jess. I appreciate that. I'm going to look at the chat. I haven't had a chance to look at it in a long time. I'm just scrolling up, looking what's going on. Okay, I'm scrolling back down. Thank you. I appreciate that, Roger. Appreciate it a bunch. Yeah, and definitely check out Duke's channel, the Big World Bigfoot Radio. That'll be awesome. Elaine says Monday can go step on a Lego. The struggle's real, Elaine. I've stepped on a few Legos every week. Thank you very much, Gemini. I appreciate that, Vamp. It was wonderful seeing you again. I hope you'll come back more often. It's been a long time, girl. Let's see. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, I guess that's going to wrap it up for tonight. But thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with another batch of scary, spooky stories for the bedtime. So hope you guys will join me then. 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's a portal going on. And tomorrow, the new podcast will launch as well. So that'll be part 2 of the interview with Amy Boo. And if you haven't checked over the weekend, I did release the Believe podcast where I was guest with our own Cade Moya from Australia. He had me as a guest on the Believe podcast, and check that out. If you haven't seen the sketch that I made regarding the sighting I had of a UFO, I put that in the show description, the link to the Facebook page where I sketched it and put it up on the Believe group page. So you can see a representation of what I experienced when I did see a UFO. But anyway, guys, I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. So that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Everybody, take care. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, hopefully. And sweet dreams.